Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is the last and final Daf of Maseches YOMA. We begin on Pei Zayin Amud Beis, 5 lines from the bottom of the Amud. Amar Rav, Tfilas Ne'ilah Piteres Es Shel Arvis. When one davens Ne'ilah at the end of Yom Kippur, it exempts Marav. There's no longer a need to daven Tfilas Arvis. Why? Says the Gemara, Rav L'Tamei. Rav is in line with his shita. We had a machlokes yesterday regarding the essence of Tfilas Ne'ilah, that special Tfilah to Chachamim added towards the end of Yom Kippur. What does it entail? Rav said it was a Tfilah so Yisei Rasa. It was an actual Tfilah with Shemana Esrei, a full-fledged Tfilah. Shmuel maintained it was only a tefillah me'anu me'chayenu, what we say today, ato noisin yada poishim, which we add at the end of Ne'ilah. That's all it is. It's not comprised of a full-fledged tefillah with Shemana Esrei. Now Ravda tells us that tefillas Ne'ilah can exempt you from saying Arvis. That's because he holds, Rav L'Tamei, the Omar Tzloisa, Yiserahi. He holds Ne'ilah is a true, full-fledged tefillah with Shemana Esrei. Yekivan de Tzadilei. And once his fellow davened Motzei Yom Kippur, he davened a tefillah. So lo tzorich. There's no longer a need to daven tefillas arvis. You see, the tefillah that we do at night, it doesn't really correspond to a specific korban. Unlike the tefillahs of Shachris, Musaf, Mincha, each one has a korban which it corresponds to. Talmud Shal Shachar, Korban Musaf, Ben Arbaim. The tefillas arvis that we say is on account of the leftovers, the ivorim, the p'dorim that may have been left over from the previous day's avodah and are burnt throughout the night. So tefillas arvis is not a specific tefillah geared towards a specific korban. Therefore, says Rav, one tefillah a night is sufficient. So once you say tefillas Ne'ilah, which is a true tefillah with a Shemana Esrei, you've been yoytze your tefillah of a nighttime tefillah, and there's no need to say arvis. Says the Gemara, Umi Omar Rav Hachi. Is that so? That Rav maintains Ne'ilah exempts you from arvis, which sounds like there's a chiyuv to daven tefillas arvis. Is that so? Va'amar Rav halacha kedivrei omer tefillas arvis rishos. There's a big machlokes, more brachas. That was a story where they ousted Ram Gamliel from his position of Nasi because of that machlokes with Rabbi Yeshua. It was harsh on Rabbi Yeshua who taught that tefillas arvis is rishos. So there's a shayla whether or not we consider arvis as an obligatory tefillah, like the other tefillahs, Shachris, Mincha, Musaf, or do we say since it's only connected to Ivorim or P'darim, which aren't really ma'akiv the korban. Sure, it's a mitzvah to bring the Ivorim throughout the night, but it's not ma'akiv the korban. And perhaps likewise, tefillas arvis, which corresponds to that part of the avodah, is not something you really need to do. It's only rishus, and Rav holds like that shita. Halacha kedivra emer tefillas arvis rishus. In which case, why is Rav telling us that in order to be exempt from arvis, you have to daven Ne'ilah? In any case, you don't have to daven arvis. It's merely a voluntary tefillah. Now, Taisus asks a kasha. How can you say it's a voluntary tefillah? The Gemara Bracha says if one skipped arvis, he will make it up in the morning. Mispal shachar shtayim. The Gemara brings that Yaakov Avinu was Masaket tefillas arvis. Tefillas arvis is connected to Ivarim P'darim. What do you mean it's rishus? It's just something that you can choose to do or not to do. So Taisus indeed learns, rishus doesn't mean you have the option to be mavatal, to just ignore arvis. It means if there's a real need, for instance, a mitzvah, a veris, or a great tircha involved, then you're pata from arvis. And therefore, he says, in our case, it's Motzei Yom Kippur. This fellow's busy. He says, mitzvah litzroyach alohochen tzorchi seuda. The have kein yontiv. Tamrim medrash. Matzah Yom Kippur is considered like a Yom Tov. The Medrash says, "The Matzah Yom Kippurim Baskoil Yoitzis Vaymeres." This is a declaration, a Baskoil Leich Achoil B'Simcha Lachmecha. So it's like a Yom Tov. Yidden wish each other good Yom Tov after Yom Kippur. So he needs the time to prepare the Suda. It's a mitzvah. It's a tzorich gadol, and therefore says Tosfos, in this case, specifically in this case, there is no chayva to daven arvis. Meaning, if you hold tefillas arvis or shus, you would be potter on Matzah Yom Kippur, and that's how he explains the Gemara's kasha. If Rav paskins tefillas arvis is reshus and can be ignored in a time of need, then Matzah Yom Kippur is that type of opportunity. In which case, there's no need to daven arvis. If so, why does Rav say tefillas ne'ilah is poiter arvis? Otherwise, you have to daven arvis. Why? Says the Gemara, you're right. Rav himself would not require one to daven arvis on Matzah Yom Kippur. L'divrei omer chayva kamar. He was referring to the other sheet. Well, that there's a chiyuv to daven tefillas arvis. There's no p'tur on account of mitzvah, tercha, yom tov. And related to that shita says Rav, but if he should daven tefillas ne'ilah on Matzah Yom Kippur, he's yotzei. It's a full-fledged tefillah with a Shemona Esrei, takes place after nightfall, and that covers the entire night. Meisvei, we have a kasha from a brayso where we seem to see that ne'ilah would not address tefillas arvis. Or Yom Kippurim, the first night of Yom Kippur, mispalel sheva. He davens tefillas arvis, which contains 7 brachas, like a Shabbos, like a Yom Tov, the first 3 standard, the last 3 standard, and the middle one, for a total of 7 brachas. Umisvada, and of course he adds the vidui. Shachris in the morning, Sheva, Umisvada. Musaf once again, tefillas Shemona Esrei, which contains Sheva brachas, Umisvada, in addition to vidui. B'ne'ilah mispalel Sheva misvada, so his fellow David ne'ilah. And then what does the Brisa say? Arvis mispalel Sheva. Even after Ne'ilah, you have to daven tefillas arvis on Matzah Yom Kippur. But there's some sort of arrangement. Mispalel Sheva me'ein Shemona Esrei. So although it's a tefillas arvis of the weekday, it's a tefillas chol, which generally consists of 18 brachas, we give him a discount. We abridged the middle brachas. So he does the first 3 standard, the last 3, and all the middle ones, 12 middle ones, are abridged into a short version, Shemona Esrei, a short version, bracha called Havinenu, as one to see in Rashi, for a total of 7 brachas. Says Rashi, 6 lines from the bottom, 7 lines. Meisvei, Katani Ne'ilah, Katani Arvis. We have a brayso which lists them both. Ne'ilah and Arvis, apparently they're both necessary. How does the brayso describe Arvis? Sheva me'ein Shemona Esrei, which is Gimel Rishonos, the first 3 brachas, V'Gimel Achronos, Kitiknon, properly, V'Omer Havinenu be'emtza. Between the first 3 and the last 3, he abridges the entire Shemona Esrei, which is called Havinenu, Sheyesh ba me'ein shalosh esrei brachas, which has a bit of all those 13 remaining brachas. V'hi tefillah k'tzara shetiknu le'v'drachim, which is actually a tefillah k'tzara that the wayfarers would say. And why was it allowed in this case? You don't just do this for no reason. Says Rashi, his fellow was hungry, he's on a rush. Chachamim gave him a discount, go ahead. Let's recite an abridged Shemona Esrei. Tosfos has an interesting pshat. So Tosfos here is on the right side, 6 lines from the bottom. Mispalel Sheva me'ein Shemona Esrei brachas. Pirush Rashbam, Taima. How do you get to this allowance? Why 7 brachas, which is an abridged Shemona Esrei? So he says because Arvis on Matzah Yom Kippur is really a crossover. Mishum dekivan akati ubetanis. Since he's still fasting, chashav Yom Kippurim. It's regarded somewhat as Yom Kippur. He's engaged in Tosefes Yom Kippurim. La'achem mispalel Sheva. That's why he davens like Yom Tov. A 7 bracha Shemona Esrei. On the other hand, Yom Kippur is over. It's already nighttime. Technically, it's already weekday. So you have to relate to a tefillas chol, but it is served like a tefillas Yom Kippur. So it's this combination. It's 18 brachas in the abridged format presented as 7. So you have the Yom Kippur and the Chol all in one. Continues the Bryce on the bottom line. No, don't abridge anything. So he quoted his fathers as follows. He has to say the entire Shemini Esrei properly. All 18 brachas. As usual. Why? It's Motzei Yom Kippur. He has to say the Atachinan Tanu Nusach, which is meant to be in the middle of the Chonin Hadas bracha. That wouldn't work if he's going to abridge the Shemini Esrei. This has a whole discussion, basically more on brachas, what the difficulty exactly is. In any case, he disagrees with the abridged Shemini Esrei. You have to do it properly. So it's a kasha Rav. We see in this brisa, he's going to say Ne'ilah and then Arvis. Ne'ilah is not Poitel Arvis. Answers the Gemara Tanoi, it's actually a machlekes Tanoi. The Sanya. Kol chayavi tfilos. All those who need to go to the mikveh on Yom Kippur. Toivlen kedarkan Yom Kippurim. They can be toivel as usual on Yom Kippur without any hesitation. For instance, Nida, V'yeledes, Toivles kedarkan B'leila Yom Kippurim. They need to be toivel at the end of their Tumah period, the night following their 7-day Tumah, etc. So there will be toivel on the first night of Yom Kippur. No concern. Baal Keri. So his fellow experiences Keri. He's going to be Aser in Divrei Torah and Tefillah. He's also meant to be toivel on Yom Kippur. Toivel v'hoilech Adam Mincha. He's allowed to be toivel on Yom Kippur, but only until Mincha time, meaning if he hadn't yet davened Mincha, he can be toivel, which will enable him to daven Mincha. But once he's davened Mincha, Rashi explains he cannot be toivel any longer. He must wait for Motzei Yom Kippurim to be toivel. What about Ne'ilah? He'll say Ne'ilah then, at night. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Kol Yom Kulei. No, he can be toivel the entire day. Even after he davened Mincha, he still needs to daven Ne'ilah today. Prior to nightfall, that's his man of Ne'ilah B'Yom. Let him be toivel to enable him to daven Mincha, to daven Ne'ilah. Let's go over to Rashi on the top line. Tanoihi. So you have machlekes Tanoim whether Ne'ilah is going to exempt Arvis or not. Ipatru Ne'ilah eshel Arvis Ilah. Hachig Arsin b'sesefta. Kol chayav etfilos. Toivlen kedarkan b'Yom Kippurim. Hanida. V'yeledes. Toivles kedarkan. B'leili Yom Kippurim. Baal Keri she'aser b'divrei Torah kedekaimelan. Ezra tiken tefillah Baal Keri. Ezra was misaka that Baal Keri must be toivel prior to davening, to learning. On Yom Kippur as well, we say toivel v'hoilech Adam Mincha. Im ira like Keri koidim l'chein. If he had this experience before Mincha, toivel, he should be toivel kedei sheyuchal ispal tefillas haMincha. Aval roa Keri man Mincha l'mala. What happened after Mincha, there's no longer a need to be toivel. Ein mutar litvoil. Rather, ela yamtin asher techshach. Let him wait until Motzei Yom Kippur, v'yitva, and then be toivel, and then daven Ne'ilah. The Sfiru l'Rabbanan, the tefillas Ne'ilah b'layla. The Rabbanan hold Tefillah is meant to be said at Ne'ilah is meant to be said at night. Let him wait until Motzei Yom Kippur. He'll be toivel and then daven Ne'ilah. Interesting that he could daven Ne'ilah even after he's already engaged in rechitza. So pertaining to Tefillah, to davening, it's still Yom Kippur for him. He's extending the Yom Kippur to a certain extent. Although for rechitza he's engaging in rechitza, being toivel, but in a certain aspect, he's still holding on to Yom Kippur, which allows him to daven Ne'ilah at this point. So that's Shittas Rabbanan. Apparently, Ne'ilah takes place at night. Ulididhu, and indeed, according to them, Poiteres Eshel Arvis Kederav. Ne'ilah can exempt Arvis, just as Rav explained, because it's taking place at the same time. They're both night-time tefillos. V'haditana ene Poiteres, as opposed to the previous brisa, which we used as a kasha to Rav, where we learned that he has to daven Ne'ilah and Arvis in addition to Ne'ilah. That's a different shita. Rabbi Yossi, the Amar, Kol Hayom Mutar Lidba. Rabbi Yossi maintains this Baal Keri is allowed to be toivel the entire day. V'afilu ro'al Keri la'achar tefillas haMincha, even though it occurred after Mincha, he should still be toivel by Yom K'dei l'spal tefillas Ne'ilah, to enable him for tefillas Ne'ilah. Alma, it's pretty clear. What does Rabbi Yossi hold regarding the timing of tefillas Ne'ilah? Kasavar tfilas ne'ilah ein zmana b'layla. It's not meant to be said at night. Ulididei eina poteres eshel iris. And indeed, according to Rabbi Yossi, it doesn't exempt iris. Ne'ilah is a daytime tefillah, and iris is a nighttime tefillah. They don't relate to each other. The Ran brings the Rishalmi. Why is it called Ne'ilah? One shita maintains, it's actually Rav, it's the time of Ne'ilas Shari Shamayim. That's when the gates of heaven close shut after Yom Kippur. And that's nightfall, nighttime. That's Rav shita. Ne'ilah takes place once it's night. Whereas the other shita in the Yerushalmi learns that Ne'ilah is because it's connected to the Shari Azora, the Beis HaMikdash, that are going to be closed off. And that's going to be the end of the day of the Avodah that's prior to nightfall, says the Ran. That's Shittas Rabbi Yossi. Tfilas Ne'ilah corresponds to the culmination of the Avodah in the Beis HaMikdash at the end of the day, before nightfall. So we've now answered the Kasha on Rav. It all depends when Ne'ilah is meant to be said. If it's meant to be said at night, it can be Poiter Arvis. One tefillah a night is sufficient. That's Rav Shit. Rabbi Yossi, he holds Ne'ilah is a daytime tefillah. In fact, because of that, he allows the Balkari to be toivel in honor of Ne'ilah. You can't wait until Motzah Yom Kippur. And indeed, that sheet of Rabbi Yossi is reflected in the previous price. He must daven Ne'ilah by day, and then once Motzah Yom Kippur arrives, it's time for Arvis. The two things don't relate to each other. Different time zones. Continues the Gemara. V'raminu. How can you say that according to Rabbi Yossi, we allow him to be toivel throughout the entire day to enable him for Ne'ilah? We have a kasha from a brais where we see that Rabbi Yossi holds this fellow is limited in his tefillah allowances. The brais says, Hazav, Vazava, Hamatzera, Hamatzeras, Ubayal Nida, one engaged with a Nida and became Tamei through her, but Tamei Mace, Toivlin Kedar Yom Kippur. They can be Toivel as usual Yom Kippur. Nida v'Yeledes, Toivlas Kedar and Belei Yom Kippur. These two, Nida and Yeledes, have to be Toivel at night, so they can be Toivel as usual on the first night of Yom Kippur. What about a Baal Keri? Toivel v'Hoilach Kol Yom Kulei. He can be Toivel the entire day. Rabbi Yossi, no. Mina mincha l'mala ein yochel litvel. Once he davened mincha, from that point onward, he can no longer be toivel. How does this fit with the previous Rabbi Yossi, who allowed this fellow to be toivel the entire day? Answers the Gemara. Loi kasha. The answer is, depends where he's holding. Ha ditzoli tfilas ne'ilah. Brisa number 2 is speaking. We already davened tfilas ne'ilah. In which case, Rashi says, why would we be allowed to be toivel? There's no justification for being toivel. You already davened ne'ilah. Hadelei tzali, as opposed to the first brisa, we hadn't yet davened tfilas ne'ilah. In which case, Rashi says, he can be toivel in a mikveh to enable him for tfilas ne'ilah. Says the Gemara, Idit Soli, okay, so you're telling me that Brisa number 2 is speaking that he really davened Ne'ilah? Idit Soli, my tamei Rabbanon. Now, how are we going to explain the Rabbanon who allow him to be toivel? He already davened Mincha, davened Ne'ilah. What's the justification to allow Tevilah in this case? Says the Gemara, you know why? Because Savi Rabbanon, Tevilah Bizmana Mitzvah. They allow him to be toivel because there's a mitzvah to be toivel at the prescribed time. You meant to get rid of the tumah at first opportunity. It's a mitzvah to do so. So although he doesn't really need to be toivel to allow him to daven, he already davened. But on account of the halacha of tefillah bizman mitzvah, we tell him to go ahead and be toivel, even at this late hour on Yom Kippur. You have to be toivel before nightfall. That's the zman, tefillah of a balkari. But Rabbi Yossi holds there's no mitzvah to be toivel bizmanoi, and therefore, in the case we already davened everything they needed to daven, shachris, musaf, mincha, ne'ilah, Let him wait for Motzi Yom Kippur to be toivel then. Mechlal Rabbi Yossi Savar lav mitzvah. So you mean to say that according to Rabbi Yossi, we don't hold of Tvila Bizmana mitzvah? V'atanya, listen to this brisa. Rabbi Yossi seems to say Tvila Bizmana is a mitzvah. Haresha hayashem kosav absari. Suppose a person had the Shem Hashem written on his flesh. Harezi lo yirchatz. This fellow shouldn't rinse himself. Not allowed to erase the Shem Hashem. V'lo yosach, nor smear oil on himself. V'lo yamid b'makam etanofis. Nor should he stand in an unclean place. Nizdamna lo tvilas mitzvah. What if he has to be toivel? He has a chiv to be toivel. We're concerned about erasure. Koirich olav gemi. Tanakama maintains he takes some type of reed grass, some type of bandage. V'yor the toivel. So he puts the gemi, he's koirich the gemi on the shem. V'yor the toivel, and he goes and he's toivel. So he cannot be toivel unless he has his gemi to cover the Shem Hashem, which will protect it from being exposed to something inappropriate. It will protect it from becoming erased by the gush of water. In any case, he must find a gemi to allow him to be toivel. Rabbi Yossi Omer, you're the toivel kedarkoi. Just go ahead and be toivel. Don't worry about covering it. As long as he doesn't actively, manually scrape off the Shem Hashem. And the reason is because the tefillah obligation overrides any concerns regarding being goyrim mechik on the Shem, etc. So going to Nakama, he must cover it. He has to find a gemi to cover it. Going to Rabbi Yossi, there's no need. And what's the svara of their machlekes? The kaimelan. And we learned, Mar Shabbos explains, the point of contention over here is as follows: the betfila bezmana mitzvah pligi. They're chaylik whether or not there's a mitzvah to be tevel bezman. Tanakama maintains there is no such mitzvah, and therefore we require him to look for a gemi. If you don't find it today, okay, wait until you find it tomorrow, the next day. There's no rush. There's no din of tefillah bezman mitzvah. Rabbi Yossi says no. There's a din of tefillah bezman mitzvah. Don't require him to get a gemi. What if he doesn't find one? It's going to cause him to postpone his tefillah past his man. That explains what Rabbi Yossi says. Don't worry about the gemi, go be tevel. It's pretty clear that Rabbi Yossi is the one that holds tefillah bezman mitzvah, as opposed to the previous brisa, where he said that once this fellow davened all he needed to daven, mincha and his ne'ilah, there's no reason for him to be toivel on Yom Kippur because tefillah bezmana lav mitzvah. Says the Gemara, we're not speaking about the same person. It's a different Rabbi Yossi. Hayir Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. The previous Rabbi Yossi, who maintained that tefillah bezmana lav mitzvah, is a different Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda, who holds that it's not a mitzvah, as opposed to the most recent brisa, where we have plain Rabbi Yossi. He holds tefillah bezmana is a mitzvah. The Sanya, Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda Aimer, Dayol tefillah shtei bachroina. Rashi explains we're speaking about an isha whose record is all confused. She's not sure when she's a nida, when she's a ledes. We give her a full schedule of many tefillahs to perform in order to try to get the tefillah bizmana, try to cover all possibilities, and hopefully she'll be toivel in the right time. Rabbi Yossi disagrees. He says one tefillah all at the end is enough, because there's no need to be toivel at the right time. Let her finish all her cheshbonis and calculations. When she's done with all that confusion, she'll do one tefillah to account for any possibility. As long as she's toivel, that's okay, even though it wasn't bizman. So the Rabbi Yossi that we mentioned earlier is Rabbi Yehuda. Tefillah bizman lav mitzvah. Whereas the most recent Rabbi Yossi, who says this fellow with the Shem Hashem shouldn't bother getting a gemi, just be toivel, we don't want any postponements. He's a different Rabbi Yossi, and he holds tefillah bizmana mitzvah. So in conclusion, what is Allah regarding the tefillah of a Balkari Yom Kippur? We have brisa number 1 and then brisa number 2. In brisa number 1 we're speaking that he hadn't yet davened tefillas ni'ila. The Rabbana maintain you can only be toivel if it's before mincha, but once you daven mincha, there's no need to be toivel, there's no justification, because Ne'ilah is meant to be said at night. Rabbi Yossi says you can be toivel the entire day because Ne'ilah is meant to be said by day. both agree that Tefillah Bizmana is lav mitzvah. That wouldn't be a reason to be tevel. The only reason would be for Ne'ilah. So according to Rabbanan, there's no need, because Ne'ilah is at night. And when Rav explained things, the Rabbanan who hold that Ne'ilah is at night, the Tefillas Ne'ilah would be poiter Tefillas Arvis. Which Rabbi Yossi holds, it can be tevel the entire day, because Ne'ilah is still meant to be said. The Zman of Ne'ilah is by Yom. And indeed, according to Rabbi Yossi, since Ne'ilah is by Yom, it will not be poiter Tefillas Arvis. And his shita is the one reflected in that first brisa, which was used as a kasha on Rav, where we see that there's going to be Tefillas Ne'ilah and Tefillas Arvis as well. One doesn't exempt the other. That's because we're speaking about two different time zones. Ne'ilah is by Yom, and Arvis is by Laila. Then we had brisa number 2, which the Gemara interpreted to be speaking about a case where he already davened Ne'ilah. So can a Balkari be tevel on Yom Kippur? Rabbanan say, yes, go ahead, the entire day. Even after he davened Ne'ilah, because they hold Tefillah Bizmana Mitzvah. Rabbi Yehuda holds, no, only until Mincha, meaning only if he has yet to daven a Tefillah. But once he davened, there's no need to be tevel, because he holds Tefillah Bizmana Lav Mitzvah. And as the Gemara concluded, this is Rabbi Yehuda, as opposed to the Rabbi Yossi found in the next price, discussing a case where he had Shem Hashem Kosel Psari. Can he be tevel? Rabbanan say, go ahead, be tevel as long as you are koirech a gemi on that Shem. Rabbi Yossi says, don't be koirech a gemi. The Gemara interpreted the Pshat Machlek is as follows. Rabbanan maintained, Tefillah Bizman is lav mitzvah. We require a gemi, and even if he has some difficulty obtaining one, let him postpone the Tefillah until he gets one. Rabbi Yossi holds, don't bother him with the gemi, because he might not find one, and he'll postpone his Tefillah. He doesn't want to do so, because Tefillah Bizman mitzvah. Now there's a big kasha now. Gemara, Taisvis, Yishanim asked the kasha. Many Mefarshim asked the same kasha. It would seem that the only reason why we allow the Balkari to be tevel is because he has to still daven. The kasha is, take a look at the brises. What about Anida, Eyeledis, Zah, V'Zava? They can proceed, they can daven even before being tevel. This halacha that one cannot daven when he's tummy is very specific to a Balkari because of Takanas Ezra. It comes through Kalas Roish. But otherwise, any other Tmeim, they can go ahead and daven without being tevel. So why did the Brisa number 1 and Brisa number 2, allow all these Tmeim to be tevel in Yom Kippur? It says the Taisvis Yishanim, you're right. It's not usher to be tevel for Tahara on Yom Kippur. It's not called Rechitza Shel Tanig. It's not for pleasure and enjoyment. Therefore, it's mutter. And he learns the Gemara entirely different than Rashi. He says, really, any tummy can be tevel on Yom Kippur if it's for the sake of Tahara. So even a Balkari, who has already davened, can still be tevel to be Tahara himself. However, says the Taisvis Yishanim, the Gemara just means to say he doesn't need to daven. So when we say the Balkari is not going to be tevel, it doesn't mean he cannot. He doesn't need to be to be tevel. And as we explained, it all depends on what's still coming on that day. Meaning the requirement to daven, to be tevel, is dependent upon whether he still has to daven today. In that case, he has to be tevel. But otherwise, he doesn't have to be tevel, but certainly he may go ahead and do so if he chooses, because it's not a tefillah shel tanig. Continues the Gemara, Tana Rabbanan, we learned in the Brisa, Roya Keri. Yom Kippur, one who experiences Keri on Yom Kippur itself, Yered v'Tovel, he should be Tovel on Yom Kippur, will Erev Yishavshif, come at Matzah Yom Kippur, he should wipe away any chatzitza concerns. La Erev, after nightfall, what good is it now? It's too late. My davahava. Whatever happened, happened. It's already after Tevilah. Elaima rather explain as follows. Miba Erev Yishavshif, he should be Meshavshif from yet before Yom Kippur. Remove any chatzitza concerns, so that just in case he has to be table on Yom Kippur, he shouldn't have any chatzitzas on him. Tani Tana, come to Rav Nachman. There was a chacham who presented the following brisa to Rav Nachman. Horoya Kerev Yom Kippurim. One who experiences Keri on Yom Kippur, and Rashi adds the words, V'loi b'miskaven. He's not at fault. It cannot be attributed or related to any of his thoughts or actions. It's something unnatural. So it's actually a good sign. Rashi brings a pasuk, Yira Zera V'yarech Yamim. It's a good sign. Avoy Noisav Mechulei. It's a sign that his Averis will be forgiven. Vatani, we have a brayso which indicates the other way around. Avinoisav Sedurin, as Averis are all set up and lined up, he's going to get an einish for his Averis. It's not a good sign. But the brayso, and the brayso said Sturin, my Sedurin, it meant Sturin li macha. They're lined up and arranged for Mechila. Because it's actually a good simon min Hashemayim. Tana Dvei Bishmol, Haroye Kerev Yom Kippurim, Yid'ak Kol Hashana Kula. A fellow who experienced Keri Yom Kippur, he has what to be concerned about the entire year. Why? Let's take a look at Rashi. It's on the first of the widest lines. Yid'ak Kol Hashana Kula, Shem Eloi Kibul Tanisei. Perhaps it's a sign that his efforts, his tanis, his affliction, wasn't appreciated in Shamayim. And they satiated him with whatever it is. Like a marshal of an Eved serving his master. He's pouring him a drink. The master turns around and pours the pitcher into his face. Here as well, perhaps, the fact that he had this experience, that's not a good sign. His tanis, his affliction, is not appreciated in Shamayim. So he has what to worry about throughout the year. However, if he successfully lived through the year, it's actually a good sign now. That he's a ben olam haba. Why? I'll prove it to you. This is the reason. Everybody else is roiv. They're afflicting themselves. He's been satiated. So it's actually a good sign. Says Rashi, 3 lines from the bottom. He didn't have this affliction. It came in Hashemayim. And the fact is, he lived through the year. Apparently, it wasn't a bad sign. Just the opposite. This is a raya shetzadik gomer. Continues the Gemara. Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael. Amar. He said regarding this fellow, Ma b'shchaye. His life will be prolonged. It's a good simon. Sagi umaski will increase. He'll have more children and grandchildren. Says Rashi on bottom, Sagi umaski bebanim bebanim shakacha simon. Yira zera. This fellow experienced the Keri experience. Yarach yamim. It's actually a good sign. So in conclusion, we learned about Tfilas Ne'ilah, which according to Rav is a full-fledged Tfilah, including a Shemona Esrei. And therefore Rav says this Tfilas Ne'ilah, which takes place at night, is Poiter Tfilas Arvis. Although we had a brayso which indicated that Tfilas Arvis is an addition to Ne'ilah, Rav responded by saying it's Machlokes Tanoim. We actually had another 3 braysos presented in the Gemara. The first 2 braysos dealt with the halacha of Tfilas Bal Keri Yom Kippur. The first brayso spoke about a case where this fellow had not yet davened Tfilas Ne'ilah. Can it be toil? Rabbanan say only until Mincha. Once he davened Mincha, he cannot be toivel because Ne'ilah takes place at night. And this is like Shitas Rav, and therefore it's Poiter Tfilas Arvis. Rabbi Yossi says he can be toivel throughout the entire day because Ne'ilah is meant to be said by day. According to him, Ne'ilah, which is a daytime tefillah, certainly cannot exempt Arvis, which is a nighttime tefillah. Both these shitas maintain that tefillah bizmana is lav mitzvah. We only allow the tefillah to enable him to daven, therefore it depends whether or not he still needs to daven. In brayso number 2, we spoke about a case where he already davened Ne'ilah. Rabbanan say still he can be toivel throughout the entire day because tefillah bizmana mitzvah. That in itself justifies tefillah Yom Kippur. What Rabbi Yehuda holds, once he davened, there's no need to be toivel, tefillah bizmana lav mitzvah. We had a case where a person had a shame kasal psori. Rabbanan say, kairach gemi, and don't be toivel, because even if it causes a postponement, that's okay. Tefillah bizmana lav mitzvah. And Rabbi Yossi says, don't bother with the gemi because we're afraid that he might actually postpone the tefillah. And it's more important to be toivel bizmana because tefillah bizmana is mitzvah. We concluded the halacha of Keri Yom Kippur. On the one hand, we say Yida Kol Hashana Kula. On the other hand, if he lived through the year, it turns out that it's a good sign. It's a sign that he's muftach, that he's been olam haba. I'll just leave you off with it's a short word. It's actually a compilation from several sources. The lion's share of our Masechta YOMA discussed Karbanos, the Avodah, the Beis Hamikdash, Yom Kippur. So that pertains to Bizman HaMikdash. How? How is this negeya? How does this relate to us nowadays? So actually the Maharsha, in the beginning of Maseches Yoma, explains, why is it called Maseches YOMA? He says it's Yom Echad Kaddish B'Shana. It's that special day which is set apart. It stands higher than any other day throughout the year. It's higher than Shabbos. It's like Yom Haba. We don't tend to our personal needs. There's no Achila V'Shtir. We're like Malachi Asharis. We learned that this Satan doesn't have Rishus to prosecute on Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a special day. It's Yoma. It's that day. That special day of the year up on a pedestal. We know only on Yom Kippur can the Kohen Gadol enter the Kodesh HaKadoshim, something which he'll never do throughout the year. So it's very appropriate that Yom Kippur, which is the holiest day of the year, that's the Kodesh Kadoshim of the year, enables the Kohen Gadol to enter Kodesh HaKadoshim. Now, what is Kodesh HaKadoshim? We know there's Kodesh, there's Chayil. What does Kodesh Kadoshim mean? So there are actually three levels, because Chayil means mundane. Kodesh means you sanctify the mundane, Kiddush of the Chayil. Higher than that is Kodesh Kadoshim. It's beyond even Kodesh. Beyond mundane. Like a Malach. And that's Yom Kippur. So Yom Kippur is a day of Kodesh Kadoshim, when the Kohen Gadol accesses the Kodesh Kadoshim. Listen to this. The Vilna Gaon brings a medrash. Although we tend to think that the Kohen Gadol can only enter Kodesh Kadoshim on Yom Kippur, but the pasuk actually indicates otherwise. B'zois yavoi Aaron al HaKodesh. In order for Aaron to go into Kodesh HaKadoshim, he has to bring all those karbanos which give him access. Says the Medrash, this is not specific to Yom Kippur. Nowhere does the pasuk say it's limited to Yom Kippur. If Aaron HaKohen chooses to do so, he can access the Kodesh HaKadoshim anytime throughout the year, provided he prepare himself accordingly, bringing those karbanos which afford him access. So we see that this concept of Kodesh HaKadoshim isn't necessarily limited to Yom Kippur and to Aaron HaKohen. In fact, every one of us has access to Kodesh HaKadoshim at any time throughout the year. Not only Yom Kippur, any time a person wishes to access Kodesh HaKadoshim, he can do so, provided that one prepares himself accordingly. Well, what does this mean? So just as we learned that there is a designated time for Kodesh HaKadoshim, Yom Kippur, typically that's the day he enters Kodesh HaKadoshim, there's a designated place in the world which is considered Kodesh HaKadoshim in the Beis HaMikdash. So we know that there are three aspects, three dimensions in this world. There's time, place, and person. Olam, that's place. Shana represents time, and Nefesh, a person. And just as we find the concept of Kodesh HaKadoshim in place and time, place meaning Kodesh HaKadoshim, Beis HaMikdash, in time, it's Yom Kippur. Likewise, in a person's nefesh, within a person's heart, B'levavi Mishkan Evna, there's to be found that inner sanctum, that Kodesh HaKadoshim, that Nekuda of Kedusha, which is beyond mundane, place where his neshama resides, deep, deep in his mind and his heart. So everybody has that within him. And how does one get access to the Kodesh HaKadoshim within himself? The answer is the same way Aaron HaKohen does it. Ubezois yavei Aaron HaKodesh, b'par ben-bakar, by way of sacrifice, by way of korban to Hashem. That removes all the layers of the choil and propels him higher and deeper, to give him access to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, to live a higher life, to connect to the highest Kodesh HaKadoshim. You know, we learned about the Anshe Knesset Agdola, who davened to Hashem to help them get rid of the Yetzer Hara, of the Zorah. So he chased them out of where? Remember, he came running out of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The kasha is, that's where the Yetzer Hara is to be found, the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The answer is yes, because it's no other than the Yetzer Hara who allows us, who gives us the opportunity to rise up to the Madrega of Kodesh HaKadoshim. How is that? By way of his nisyonis. He tempts us, he challenges us. And when a person overcomes, is mizgaber on that Yetzer, he becomes nis'ala, becomes elevated, becomes niskadish, and reaches the highest point of a Kedusha. So it's actually Yetzer Hara, none other than that Yetzer Hara, who gives us access to our own personal Kodesh HaKadoshim. And indeed, that pertains to us. Not only Yom Kippur, not only the Beis HaMikdash, not only through Karbanis, but Aaron HaKohen, every one of us can access his own personal inner Kodesh HaKadoshim. Tap in and plug into the deepest and highest kedusha that's found within him, live a higher life, and connect to holiness on the highest madrega. How does this happen? Through karbanis, through sacrifice, through giving up, doing ma'aseh nefesh to Hashem, overcoming those nisyonos, and indeed that's applicable at any time, in any place. The Rambam, the end of Hilchos Shmitim, relates to a person who commits himself seriously to Torah as one who is niskadesh kodesh kadosh. So be it. Amen. Ken Yerasa. Hadran Loch, YOMA Kippurim, Uslikala Maseches YOMA, Malatov, may you be zeicha to learn many more Masechtas together with Simcha, with much Hatzlach. Take care and be well.
I know you know sis bizoy satoyro hihilonu oydyoyro oh you know you know sis bizoy satoyro hihilonu oydyoyro Kilanu was the size, how you know? Kilanu was the